welcome one and all. Do give me a holler in the chat and let me know that you are there. It's not nice being in here by myself, not knowing if you are there. Only kidding, only kidding. I know you're there because you're faithful. I know that. Yeah, do jump into the chat. Say hi. Bear in mind that on Facebook there is a 10-second delay between you posting something and me actually seeing it. Don't know why that is. Bit of an irritation. Hi, Daniel Myers. Pleasure to have you on board, sir. Welcome for your bedtime story. Thank you, Lisha, for liking the video. This is live voiceover. Number 12. It's 12 days in a row I've done this. Technically 13. Let's just discount that one because of the grounds that was it number 9? I think it was number 9 was a mime one because no sound was there. Oh, Danny, you're watching it from the bath. Too much information. But welcome. It's the first time I have been observed in the bath. I'll backtrack on that one. Pleasure to have you here anyway, regardless. Thank you. So, you are... Oh, Dan, you are joining me on my Facebook fan page. Okie dokie. Not quite sure what's going on here. Just going to tinker around a little bit, so bear with me a moment, because I'm not actually seeing any video on either of these screens. Now I am. Welcome everybody on my normal Facebook as well. Thank you, Frank, for your like on the video. Much appreciated, sir. Much appreciated. Do like, share, subscribe, so that... Whoops. Daisy. Let's go back on that one. Do like, share, and subscribe, and be sure, if you are watching on the YouTube stream, to click that bell icon so you're notified when I go live in the future. Again, do jump on. Do say hi. Get a shout out. It is nice to see who is on the other end and who is listening. And we will start in a moment. We will start in a moment with the very first story in this Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales that we will actually recognise as being. Thank you very much, John, for your like. Thank you, Pinar, for liking the video as well. I think that's how you pronounce it. This will be the very first story that we genuinely will know. Rapunzel. Who doesn't know Rapunzel? Rapunzel. Hi, Eamon. Pleasure to have you on board. Hello, Mark, on my Facebook page. It is a pleasure to have everybody. Yes, so Rapunzel. Let down. Oh, thank you, Mark, for your like as well. Oh, everything's going all awesome. Awesome. Come on, stop clicking on that. Thank you, Michelle, for your like. Hello, Kimberly. One sec, what's going on? Thankfully. Right. Hello, Kimberly. Evening, pet. How we doing, like? Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on here. Just for any of those that are brand new to this stream and wondered, what the hell is he doing? Well, basically, because we're all confined in a house and we're all online most of the time, we're very interconnected, I thought, what better thing than to read everybody a day or nighttime story from a book that I bought myself because it looks absolutely awesome. Boo-boo. It is Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales, and it's very gothic looking. It is quite sexy. I do like it. And it sits on my shelf with my Edgar Allan Poe entire collections book as well, which looks very similar in sort of gothicness style. I do like the gothic look of books and stuff, the old library style look. And I thought, okay, this would be perfect for my children, read them a fairy tale, and then after reading one story, discovered that it's not actually a good idea to read to children because some of them do contain death and other things like that, with quite graphic detail in what actually occurs. These are original stories by the Brothers Grimm, which are from Germanic texts. So yeah, they are pretty to the point and quite blunt and quite horror style. Not always. Canny man, are you in the netty? No, I'm not in the netty, I'm in the boothy. Although I might actually, I might actually put a toilet scene behind me to make it look like Tales from the Toilet. I like it. Trademarked, copyright, mine, Tales from the Toilet. God, I feel like I'm on the radio with that. Did anyone else notice that on the radio the presenters always seem to go, and come next? I don't know why. Anyway, I digress. Right, so yeah, because I can't read these to my kids, and I thought, when will I ever have a chance to actually sit down and read these? I thought this would be the perfect opportunity, bring you guys in so you can watch them and listen to them for the very first time as well. Now, I will clearly state that I have not read any of these. None of these are pre-rehearsed or anything like that, so I am reading the texts for the very first time as you are hearing it. So I'm just as excited to read them to you as you are, joining, waiting for them to listen to them or to watch them or however you want to do it. I don't know if you go and play solitaire while listening to it as an audiobook, so to speak. This was brought up actually for me to... I want shares. Yes, we shall sort something out, Kimberly. This was something that was brought up to me about converting these into audiobooks. Well, not audiobooks, but sort of audio files, so you could listen to them as podcasts. And I may actually do that, but we shall see. Let's get through these first, because there's like 210 of them. And it's now number 12, and it's the very first one which we will actually recognise. So yeah, all of this is brand new to me. I will not know what the wording of each story is. I may slip up on some parts, so I do apologise, because it is translated from German text. So it may not be exactly as I'm imagining it to be as I'm reading it in flow-wise, whereas in editing, I would normally have edited that out so you would not have heard any of the slip-ups anyway. This is just all warts and all, so you can see it exactly as it is. So, let's go on with it. Yesterday's was a rather bizarre one. It was Little Brother and Little Sister, about a brother that drank from a cursed stream, turned into a deer. His sister looked after it, and by an evil, wicked stepmother. There's always a very familiar feel to these stories with the wicked stepmothers and stuff. And at the end, she married a king and took the deer. Anyway, I digress. If you want to watch that, it's number 11 from yesterday. It was an interesting read. There wasn't actually that many mistakes in it, I don't think. I haven't reviewed it. I've just literally saved it for you guys to review yourself if you missed it. And we shall start, because I am talking far too much. This is the most amount of speech I have done today. Weird. And it's mostly to myself. That is strange. Right, okay. So let's start. This one is Rapunzel. Remember, like, share, and subscribe. Get as many people on as possible. Let them enjoy it as much as you. There was once a man and a woman who had long hair, who had long in vain wished for a child. At length the woman hoped that God was about to grant her this desire. These people had a little window at the back of their house from which a splendid garden could be seen, which was full of the most beautiful flowers and herbs. It was, however, surrounded by a high wall, and no one dared to go into it because it belonged to an enchantress named Dame Gothel. who had great power and was dreaded by all the world. One day the woman was standing by this window and looking down into the garden when she saw a bed which was planted with the most beautiful rampion. So rampion, and it's got in brackets Rapunzel. So I'm presuming Rapunzel or rampion is actually a flower. Planted with the most beautiful rampion, and it looked so fresh and green that she longed for it, and she had the greatest desire to eat some. I don't think it's a flower. The desire increased every day, and she knew that she could not get any of it. She quite pined away and looked pale and miserable. Then her husband was alarmed and asked, "What ails you, dear wife?" "Ah," she replied, "if I could get some of that rampion which is in the garden behind our house." If I can't get some of that rampion which is in the garden behind our house, I shall die. The man, who loved her, thought, "Sooner than let your wife die, bring her some of your rampion yourself. Let it cost you what it will." In the twilight of the evening, he clambered down over the wall into the garden of the Enchantress, hastily clutched a handful of rampion and took it to his wife. She at once made herself a salad of it, and ate it with much delight. She, however, liked it so much, so very much, that the next day she longed for it 3 times as much as before. If he was to have any rest, her husband must once more descend into the garden. In the gloom of evening, therefore, he let himself down again. But when he had clambered down the wall, he was terribly afraid, for he saw the Enchantress standing before him. "How can you dare," she said with an angry look, "to descend into my garden and steal my rampion like a thief? You shall suffer for it." "Ah," he answered, "let mercy take the place of justice. I only made up my mind to do it out of necessity. My wife saw your rampion from the window, and felt such a longing for it that she would have died if she had not got some to eat." Then the Enchantress allowed her anger to be softened, and said to him, "If the case may be as you say, I will allow you to take away with you as much rampion as you will. Only I make one condition. You must give me the child which your wife will bring into the world. It shall be well treated, and I will care for it like a mother." The man, in his terror, consented to everything, and when the woman named Rapunzel, And when the woman gave birth, the Enchantress appeared at once, gave the child the name Rapunzel, and took it away with her. Rapunzel grew into the most beautiful child beneath the sun. When she was 12 years old, the Enchantress shut her into a tower which lay in a forest, and had neither stairs nor door, but quite at the top was a little window. When the Enchantress wanted to go in, she placed herself beneath it and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let your hair down to me." Rapunzel had magnificent long hair, fine as spun gold, and when she heard the voice of the Enchantress, she unfastened her braided tresses, wound them round one of the hooks of the window above, and then her hair fell 20 ells down, and the Enchantress climbed up by it. After a year or two, it came to pass that the king's son rode through the forest and went by the tower. Then he heard a song, which was so charming that he stood still and listened. This was Rapunzel, who in her solitude passed her time in letting her sweet voice resound. The king's son wanted to climb up to her and looked for the door of the tower, but none could be found. He rode home, but the singing had so deeply touched his heart that every day he went out into the forest and listened to it. Once when he was thus standing behind a tree, he saw the Enchantress come. He saw that an Enchantress came there, and he heard how she cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Then Rapunzel let down the braids of her hair, and the Enchantress climbed up. If this is a ladder by which one mounts, I will at once try my fortune." The next day, when it began to grow dark, he went over to the tower and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." Immediately the hair fell, and the king's son climbed up. At first Rapunzel was terribly frightened when a man such as her eyes had never yet beheld came to her. But the king's son began to talk to her quite like a friend, and told her that his heart has been so stirred that it has left him no rest, and he has been forced to see her. Then Rapunzel lost her fear, and when he asked her if she would take him for a husband, and she saw that he was young and handsome. She thought, "He will love me more than the old Dame Gothel does." And she said, "Yes," and laid her hands in his, and said, "I will willingly go away with you, but I do not know how to get down. Bring with you a skein of silk every time you come. Then I will weave a ladder with it, and when this is ready I will descend, and you will take me on your horse." They agreed that until the time he should come to her every evening. They agreed that until that time he should come to her every evening, for the old woman came by day. The Enchantress remarked, Sorry, it's been one of those days. The Enchantress remarked nothing of this until once Rapunzel said to her, "Tell me, Dame Gothel, how it happens that you are so much heavier for me to draw up than the young king's son. He is with me hardly a minute."
"Ah, you wicked child!" cried the Enchantress. "What do I hear you say? I thought I had separated you from all the world, and yet you have deceived me."
In her anger she clutched Rapunzel's beautiful tresses, wrapped them twice around her and round her left hand, seized a pair of scissors with the right, and snip, snap, they were cut off, and the lovely braids lay on the ground. And she was so pitiless that she took poor Rapunzel into a desert where she had to live in great grief and misery. On the same day that she cast out Rapunzel, the Enchantress fastened the braids of hair which she had to keep on a hook of the window, and in the evening when the king's son came and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair," she let down the hair. The king's son ascended, but did not find his dearest Rapunzel above, but the Enchantress, who gazed at him with a wicked, venomous look.
"Ha-ha!" she cried mockingly. "You would fetch your dearest, but the beautiful bird sits no longer singing in the nest. The cat has got it, and will scratch your eyes out as well. Rapunzel is lost to you. You will never see her no more."
The king's son was beside himself with pain, and in his despair he leapt down from the tower. He escaped with his life, but the thorns in which he fell pierced his eyes. Nice. Then he wandered quite blind about the forest, ate nothing but roots and berries, and did nothing but lament and weep over the loss of his dearest wife. Thus he roamed about in misery for some years, and at length came to the desert where Rapunzel, with the twins to which she had given birth, a boy and a girl. Wait, when was she pregnant? She was in the desert by herself. Okay. A boy and a girl lived with the wretchedness. He heard a voice, and it seemed so familiar to him that he went towards it. And when he approached, Rapunzel knew him and embraced him and wept. 2 of her tears wetted his eyes, and they grew clear again, and he could see with them as before. He led her to the kingdom where he was joyfully received, and they lived for a long time afterwards, happy and contented. Well then, so that's a little different to the one that we're used to. What are your thoughts? What did you think? Unlucky that he landed his eyes in thorns, though. But I'm still confused as to where these children came from. Really, really very confused. Unless they lay together whilst he was actually in the tower with her. That's the only explanation, but I don't believe it mentioned that. Hello, Jennifer. Sorry, I didn't realise that 13 minutes ago you were... It is a bit grim. Grim fairy tales. Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales. That was definitely, I mean, it was nice because it was familiar. It was familiar to what we're used to. But yeah, definitely it's not the sort of and they lived happily ever after sort of outcome. It was still interesting. It was still different to listen to. And I did enjoy it. I apologise about the few hiccups that I had during that. Pun intended. Definitely, Mark. Definitely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Kimberly. Much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, so I hope you did enjoy it and that it was up to your expectations. If you're watching back on a replay, please do comment replay on this video so I can see who you are and not just my stalker. Thank you, Eamon. I'm really pleased you enjoyed it. Thank you. It's a pleasure to have had you here. Okay. Any more comments? Nope. Nope. Okie dokie. We shall keep this one short and sweet. Remember, like, share, and subscribe, please. And if you're on YouTube watching, please do comment replay on any of the platforms. Do comment replay if you are watching replay. Comment live if you're watching live. Just so obviously I can see demographically and analytically who's where and what you're doing and who's been on. I mean, I can see how many people are actually watching at a time, and it's quite exciting. But yeah, like, share, subscribe, please, and I shall catch you tomorrow at the same time, 9:30, where we shall be reading The Three Little Men in the Wood. Aha! I got there before you. Well, actually, technically, you got there before me because it was 10 seconds ago. You asked the question, what's tomorrow's story? Yeah, it's The Three Little Men in the Wood. Tomorrow. Let me have a look, because I've lost my page. I was supposed to put The Three Little Men in the Wood. Again, no idea what that's about, but we shall see. Thank you very much for joining, ladies and gentlemen. And take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. And it's been a pleasure reading to you.